Now, I want to look at the big picture, but first I want to ask you about Cam because we spent some time during the offseason talking about mechanics. And, you have shared the stories from your sources, guys in the building saying, hey, look, he was behind the eight ball last year. COVID,
Mhm.
didn't have a lot of time to figure it out. Blah, 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 blah. What do you see from Cam? Is he the same guy, Greg?
He's the same guy. I've noticed little difference. I mean, from his mechanics, he's still throwing off his back foot, his footwork, how he dips his back shoulder sometimes on like, little 10, 15-yard throws where you really just need to boom, get it out, flick the wrist, get it out. Instead, he got to gear up to do it. And that's going to cause problem against NFL defenses. I haven't seen him do anything advanced in terms of, you know, play adjustment, things like that. Like there was a play on the first day of minicamp on Monday
Yep.
where they're just, and it was half speed. It wasn't that big of a deal. And maybe this was pre-planned. I don't know. But they come out, and again, it was very similar. Cam Newton. Now, I will say it looked like they were working on dummy calls, which in itself, or dummy snap cadences, which in itself for Cam Newton would be a step forward because we talked about it last year. There's no, hey, these guys are coming, like, let me go, ready, set, hot, and like, get them to jump. There wasn't anything like that with Cam. It was just they snapped the ball and the guys would be coming full bore on blitzes and forget it, they'd get run over. And you're like, why don't they just say like hut one, something like that, or like Aaron Rodgers does. So they were working on a drill that was doing that. So you're like, okay, that's cool. They're doing that. And so here comes Cam Newton. He comes out and, he does, where's that hut? And, they wait and okay. But then he goes through with the cadence. Now, Mac Jones gets up there. Mac Jones identifies the mic just like Cam Newton does. Ready, set, hut. Ready, set, hut. And then all of a sudden he does this motion where it looks like Salt Bay or something like that. And he audibles, and all of a sudden they go from a very, like, say, two tight ends, two running backs, maybe one wide receiver in a tight formation. All of a sudden he does this, he audibles, and all of a sudden it's shotgun 4 wide with a running back, and you're like, and all of a sudden he snaps the ball, boom, it's out. They beat the blitz, and you're just like, oh, okay. Can Cam even do that? I don't know if he can. I haven't seen him do it yet. So, in terms of, not just the throwing and the mechanics, but also where Cam is in the offense, I don't think he's made a ton of progress. And I think that that's sort of why there might be a little bit of a tilt. And let me explain to people, Nick, the tilt that we saw today, or like what I saw. And so they're going through practice, and for halfway through practice, it's the normal practice. Cam's getting the 1s, Mac Jones is getting the 2, Stidham's getting the 3s, and Hoyer's getting the leftovers. This is a whole bunch of different stuff, different drills that they're doing. Then all of a sudden they go to 7-on-7, and it's somewhat competitive, somewhat half speed. Cam is the quarterback to start, gets three snaps, and he completes like 3 checkdowns. All of a sudden now it's Mac Jones, and they're working. This is 7-on-7 in the red zone, low red zone. And Mac Jones goes tight end to Hunter Henry. Touchdown to Hunter Henry. Completion to Brandon Bolden. Touchdown to Devin Asiasi. Would have been a touchdown again to Hunter Henry, except it hit a paddle. One of the coaches holding the paddle, so hit a paddle. And then he completes a touchdown to Matt Lacoste. So, 3 touchdowns, 4 would have been touchdowns on 5 reps. So, and nobody else got low red zone reps there, just Mac Jones. Then suddenly they break up into 3 fields. And we saw this also the first day, where it's a quarterback goes with an offensive line. One of the quarterbacks, Mac Jones or Newton, Mac Jones and Newton each go with an offensive line, and they work with a running back, and they're going basically against a front 7 in terms of run blocking, blitz pickup, stuff like that. And then on another field, Hoyer and Stidham are throwing passes to wide receivers and tight ends, almost pseudo 1-on-1s or 7-on-7. So on day 1, Mac Jones, when he went off to a side field in this circumstance, worked with the first team offensive line. Cam Newton worked with the second team offensive line. Okay, I was like, okay, that's interesting.
Interesting. Yep.
Yeah. So day 2, Mac Jones goes off to a side field and is a starting offensive line for the second straight day.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, wait a minute. Now, then suddenly, mind you, during the 7-on-7 low red zone period, Bill Belichick and Ernie Adams are in a deep discussion. And Ernie Adams is like moving his arms, like he's very animated. I don't know what they're talking about. They could have been talking about, a Wesleyan lacrosse game for all I know. But Ernie's, everybody thinks he's retired, and all of a sudden he's out there flapping his arms all over the place, and Belichick's like listening to him while they're watching Mac Jones.
Maybe he thought it was a lobster meal he recently had. Who knows?
Exactly. Yeah. And so I thought that was interesting. So they go over into so Mac Jones is now with the first team offensive line. Isaiah Wynn, Mike Onwenu, David Andrews, Ted Karras, because Shaq Mason sat out today, along with Jonnu Smith, or at least watched, and Trent Brown at right tackle, and plus a couple running backs like James White and whoever. And I look around, and who's watching Mac Jones? It's Bill Belichick, it's Ernie Adams, Josh McDaniels is coaching him. Mind you, there was a whole period earlier in the practice with Mac Jones and the tight ends where Josh McDaniels was there the entire time, coaching everybody up. It was just Mac Jones and the tight ends. So you have the head coach, his consigliere, the offensive coordinator, Matt Patricia, probably everybody else. Everybody was watching Mac Jones. And I'm like, this is weird. And like, that's when I got the feeling like Cam Newton must feel like the 16-year-old at like the kids' table at the holiday dinner, where like his younger sibling, how did he get to go to the adults' table? Like, what's the deal?
Yeah.
And then they go to 11-on-11. And Cam gets he gets 3 reps. Mac Jones then gets the next 8 reps, including the first reps of red zone. So Mac got the end of one period and the beginning of the next. And during this entire time, Cam Newton is walking slowly all over the place. His head's down a little bit. He's off by himself. He's not with any of the other quarterbacks. He's not with any coaches. He is just standing there by himself. And that's when I got the feeling like, I think Cam understands what's going on here.
Yeah.
Like,
yep.
There has been a shift because, like you and I talked about earlier on your radio show, and this is the other component of this. How many people have we heard, who believe that Cam Newton is going to be the starter, that there's no way Bill Belichick is going to start a rookie quarterback, blah, 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 Tom Brady, week 4. Look, that might all be true. Okay. But how many times have we heard them say, like, the Patriots look at it like Cam didn't have weapons last year. He came in, he signed late. He had COVID practices. They were remote. They weren't on the field that much, blah, blah, blah. Cam had COVID, all this stuff. We heard this all off season.
Yep.
They sign him back. Oh, well, now he's going to get all this. If that's the case, and if Bill Belichick has decided in his mind that Cam Newton is going to start for him this season, including against Tom Brady on Sunday night, then why, with the second to last practice before training camp starts, for a guy who doesn't know enough about the Patriots offense, hasn't repped with enough of these guys yet, especially the new additions, why is Mac Jones getting more snaps than him?
Yeah.
Why is he getting more attention?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. If Cam Newton is your guy, he gets 75% of the snaps, and you worry about coaching Mac up on the side in training camp.
Yep.
No, to me, it looks like they are hurrying him, that they are pushing him in a direction. They are trying to throw more and more at him because it seems like so far he might make mistakes when you throw stuff at him, but he's going to learn. And he's not going to make the same mistake again. So they are throwing stuff at him with, maybe one more practice on Wednesday left. If they do it, sometimes Belichick likes to do a team bonding thing. So we'll have to see. But say they do have another practice tomorrow. Maybe Cam gets all the reps. But like if you're coming back in 6 weeks to train for this season after a 7-9 season and Cam is your guy, and a lot of these veterans have not been on the field yet for you. They haven't been here in OTAs. You would give Cam Newton almost all of the snaps to get him ready, to speed him up, saying like, all right, you need to learn all this stuff, Cam. That's not what's going on. They're doing that for Mac Jones. They're not doing it for Cam Newton.